We are into our semifinals match of the Copa Virginia Cash Prize Division. We have Brian Guevara immediately pulling guard in the standard Jiu-Jitsu rash guard, and Kyle DeSantos in top in the green and black rash guard.
That seems like the right move for Brian here. We know that Kyle's got some solid wrestling. He's probably preferring to stay on the feet to think that he has a chance of getting those points for the takedown. Brian pulling guard, entering into... Can't see on the other side.
Butterfly. It's just standard butterfly guard.
Yeah.
Hard to see from our angle. Looking like he's going to try to go double unders here and go for the violent arm lock sweep over.
The double under was what I couldn't see, but yes, double under, violent arm lock sweep, double under sweep, solidly placed by Brian there. Yeah. Settles on top, gets his points.
We know just how dynamic Brian's guard is because we've seen him play for so many years here in the Copa series, and we've been really impressed with his guard. So it's nice to see that he's able to play that versus Kyle DeSantos here.
Brian laying heavy into the chest, keeping Kyle's arms above his head. This is a really tough position to deal with on the bottom here. Brian working the pass from this position, but also probably just focused on what we refer to as cooking Kyle a little bit, making him uncomfortable, getting him tired, easing the pass up for a little bit later on when he starts getting a little more aggressive with it, I think. Yeah,
absolutely, I think is what he's doing here. We know Brian tends to play slow and low in the positions that he likes to play from, and especially because Kyle in his earlier match had a really tough match that was close. They went down to the wire at full time. He was given the time to recover before this match, but Brian probably knows, okay, he's a little tired. If I can leverage that advantage here, I'm probably going to open up the pass easier for me later. And he's laying into this position. He's either going to get the head and arm or he's going to get the pass here. He knows Kyle is dynamic, so taking a little wind out of the sails tactically is, I think, right decision here to make for Brian.
Brian does have his foot hook in. Looks like Kyle cleared that. Brian sprawling his hips back a little bit more. Kyle doing a nice job creating some space here, trying to shove Brian's head away to clear that head position that Brian has. Is so hard to deal with. Brian doing a nice job resettling into it.
We are going to get a stalling call for Guevara on top here, which I think is reasonable in the position. Again, Brian's taking his time, but referee's looking for him to progress the action a little bit. Still leaning really heavy, keeping Kyle's arms nice and tight above him. Brian potentially looking for a body lock. Referee is going to try to drag him. These are two big gentlemen, so it'll be hard. But I do appreciate the referee kind of just moving them to the side there so that Kyle can push backwards to escape, as he needs to, and Brian can continue to climb up to chase the position. Good referee work there.
Brian is climbing his pressure across Kyle a little bit more, looking for that shoulder pressure on the face, that cross-face pressure, potentially trying to start passing a little bit more assertively here, and he clears his back leg through that pressure. 3 points for the pass for Brian. Brian is now up 5-0 with just under 4 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, really, really thoughtful way to do it. Again, he knew that he couldn't just run the pass because he knew Kyle was going to get some motion going, so doing it low and slow and then waiting for Kyle to pummel his feet to try to collect the half guard, I think is a really tactically good decision to make here for Brian. Brian's going to reset the position to where he was, making sure that his knee is below Kyle's arm because, again, it's very hard to get that back once Kyle pulls it to the body.
Brian keeping that heavy shoulder pressure on Kyle here. Again, this is that physical and mental aspect of the sport that gets really challenging to deal with. These positions might seem static, but when you're on the bottom there, that gets brutal and brutal. And the longer that you're there, the more likely you are to make mistakes. And that's what Brian, I think, is hoping for here.
Yeah, Brian's done a really good job, again, of just forcing Kyle to hold his weight here and hold his arms above his body. You have to have a frame there because then Brian can climb over to mount like he just tried to do. But then by holding the arm up, you're forcing the person to push down and kind of fatigue their chest, their lats, the other muscles that keep you from passing. And then long-term, later in a match, these are 7-minute matches, that can pay dividends for you and allow you to pass.
Absolutely. Our ref resetting the position here, a little close to the edge of the mat. Wants to give Kyle some room to move so that he can work on some of the escapes here without worrying about escaping from the mat or getting penalized for moving off of the mat intentionally.
Yeah, I think it's a really great reset there. Kyle kind of potentially looking for a buggy choke there really quickly.
Changed his mind pretty quick.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable with a guy like Guevara because Brian's, for a bigger guy, is pretty mobile and pretty willing to move. Brian moving into the north-south here to prevent Kyle's legs from coming up, getting nice and close to prevent the bench press.
Brian doing a nice job keeping that space minimal, even through Kyle's bridges.
Yeah, Kyle's corner is calling for him to wrestle up. This is going to be really hard to do with Guevara, especially if Brian has his hands locked under. He can kind of control the hips and prevent the hip switch that Kyle needs to do to start that wrestle up process.
Brian getting another stalling call here, though.
Which does give an advantage to Kyle, but being up 5 points with 2 minutes to go, as long as Guevara stays moderately active, he still does have an additional penalty that he can incur and still be up on points unless Kyle does start to get something going.
Yeah, this is one of those strategic points where, if Brian wants to keep playing this dominant position game, he has the ability to do that up until that next penalty is awarded, at which point he's risking disqualification. But the points on the board, he can continue playing the game that he wants, and that might be the strategically intelligent way to play this game right now.
Yeah, big hip switch from Brian there to keep Kyle down. Kyle is starting to push away, but Guevara's doing a really good job holding the hips, holding down. Referee does keep glancing at the watch. It is possible that Guevara is going to get another stalling call here on top, but again, it is something, and there it is.
That is Brian's third stalling call. Now we are in a place where if he does not push the action, if he doesn't start looking to advance his position, move into mount, doesn't start looking for the submission, he could potentially get disqualified here.
Yeah, it's possible here. Again, under a minute. Would hate to see it, but again, it is. You are required to continue to progress and move the match.
Brian creating a little bit more space, but keeps reverting back to this position, and potentially risky here for him. Now coming around to the back, looking for that body triangle. Brian lands in the body triangle. Now he's looking for the submission.
Yeah, body triangle doesn't score here, but it was a great controlling position. We know Brian is very good from it. Brian looking to secure the rear naked chokes, actually looking to punch the hooks in here, which will give him the 4 points.
Resetting that body lock after he scores his 4 for the hooks. He is digging for that choke aggressively. I think it's safe to say that he's out of stalling range here.
Yeah, absolutely on the back. It is very rare to get stalling calls there. And Brian is going to take that 9-2 and a very, very dominant victory. Very well played, again, to deal with the strengths that Kyle had on the feet, move him into the guard position in the back, and then be able to take the match on points there.